Hi everybody, my name is Billy. We're going to do my second YouTube information video, or instructional to some degree. And this time I decided to talk about another thing that I do in kind of a unique way, which is the kind of straps I use, how I make them, and how I put them on the bass. Many years ago in Buffalo, New York, I helped the guy who started me on bass, Joe Hesse. He was also a carpet installer, so he stopped playing for a while. I was installing carpeting. So after I did a gig at night, he'd come pick me up in the morning, and I'd go help him install carpeting. So one time we installed carpeting at Buffalo Belt and Weaving, which was they made cotton belting. They made the belts that caught the F-14s, I think they are, when they landed on the aircraft carrier. Forgive me if it wasn't an F-14. But anyway, they were quite an amazing little company. And they were kind enough, they gave us a big roll of belting. I thought, man, I could make a hell of a strap out of this. Because at the time I had a leather strap. And the leather strap, as I got hot and sweaty and pushed on my bass, incrementally it would be going lower and lower and lower. And then I'd get to a point where, why can't I play anymore? Because the strap is too low. And then I have to cut it, move it up. And of course it would leather, so it would get sweaty and hot and ugly and terrible. And I had to pour Old Spice or Brute cologne all over it in order to make it not so offensive. So I made my first straps with that belting material. Now back in the day, of course, people write to me and ask me if I still have this bass. Of course I do. This is the most important bass I own. This is what I started on, my original P bass that I added a telly neck to and an EBO pickup. It was the template for all the Attitude basses that came later. But here it is with its original strap. And you can see it's gone through a lot. And yes, it probably has a little distinct kind of scent or whatever to it. Later on, I had some Velcro sewn onto it for wireless stuff to make it easier to stick them on there. And it was done not with Phillips head screws, but straight slotted screws, which are always slip off easily. So that's how it started. And this bass, and it's funny when I do my clinics, I'll take my bass, whichever bass it is, by the strap, and explain to them that my strap will never come off no matter what. And they always are waiting for a disaster to happen, but that's the thing. These just don't ever come off. There's a couple of other great benefits to having this type of strap. One very important point, in my humble opinion, is the fact that it's stiff here. I'll explain why in a second. The other point is that sometimes when I do a little bending, you're actually pushing against the strap. So if it's a thin strap or a flexible strap, a couple people have shown me straps that actually are made out of elastic material. I would go out of my mind with that. No way I could possibly play a bass. This is a little high too, so normally they went down. They go down a little lower than that these days. But anyway, this is the original strapping material. I have a little bit of a laugh, but not much. So I went with another. Pardon me, I put this down. So I went with another type of strapping material. And here it is. There's a company online, I believe they're called Strapworks, and they sell all kinds of belts and weaving for lawn furniture and for tie downs on trucks and everything. I believe this is a vinyl or poly something or other, but it's too thin and it's too floppy, so I had someone sew. If you look close, there's 5 distinct lines of it being sewn together. So I got a huge roll of it, cut it out in lengths, and they sewed it all together for me. Then they also sewed that Velcro on there properly. The thing that holds the screw goes through is a stainless steel grommet. That's unpainted, that's painted. Why are they painted? They're painted to make it more stiff. See how the strap will bend here, but when you get to come to that part, it won't. Now here's the whole reason for that, and it drives me crazy. And I've seen probably one of the greatest guitarists in the world standing in front of thousands of people battling the fact that when you lift the guitar up, it spins around and goes like that. And if you have wireless packs on here, they're flopping around like crazy. And then if at any time you catch it the wrong way, it's gonna pull off and fall. And so that drove me crazy to have it like that. This is just it's a fine strap and a perfectly good strap, but and 99 out of or 999 out of 1,000 people, this will be perfectly adequate for everything in your whole life and your whole career. No worries, it's great, it's fine. But for me, it didn't work because when that thing spun around, it was a huge pain in the neck. So I got these straps. Here's my just most recently installed one. This is the base we did the pickup install on, the new Relentless pickup, and it plays great, and I'm so pleased with it. And thank you all that watched the video of the install and all your comments, and thanks for your subscription to my YouTube channel. I'll try to make it worthwhile for everyone. But I put it in, and you see here we have a big screw in there, a washer. Underneath that is that stainless grommet. It's stiff here. There's your Velcro on there for your wireless packs. It's stiff on this end too, and it just pops right on like that. And you take it off, and the thing doesn't spin around and doesn't flop around. And it's always, it's funny when at the end of a show, when I come back for an encore, I put my bass on, it's just no problemo. It drops right on. And it's comfortable because it's wide. It might rub a little bit here on the edges, but eventually it'll work its way in, and it'll be perfectly fine. So here is a strap. This is how I get them from, I find an industrial sewing place, and they did this sewing for me. There's no way I'm gonna be able to do this with my very limited skills in so many fields. But they sewed it together, put the Velcro on there, and we're gonna show how I put the grommets in and how I screw it into the base. Generally, I'll explain these components here. Here's the, I got these little spacers. They are, you can find them in just about any hardware store. It's a little nylon spacer. And by luck, it happens to fit perfectly snug right in there. So the same principle I talked about on the, I have talked about on the P-base where it's the wrong screw. This is the wrong screw too because it should have a shaft there. But the ones with the shaft usually have a wood screw countersunk head, which would give you edges, which you don't want. So this has the more machine screw head that's rounded off. That goes perfectly through the grommet. Might be perfectly. And then basically, in the end, there you have it. And with the, I forgot the washer, sorry. You put the washer on first. Then, and these washers are a little tight, so you actually have to screw the washer in here because so the threads will make it in there. The screws are kind of random. I just kind of pick what's available, but the principle is I want to go deep into the wood, and I want the screw to be really strong. So now when this goes over it, that whole thing goes in there, bang, ready to go. It will turn when it's screwed into the base. You can torque it down a little bit and make it so it's tighter, but that's basically it. And it will, it'll never come off, really, virtually never, because that's sunk so deep in the wood. Now, some purists would not like that, because you have to do a much bigger hole than a regular strap button. And if that's not your thing, you can do the same thing with a smaller screw. It won't be quite as strong, but if you're not doing shenanigans like my goofiness, it's not going to be a problem. So anyway, that's the principle of how they're going to go on, and then we'll show you all the procedure on how that is done, and there you have it. Okay, a couple of preliminary things I'm going to do on this strap before I punch a hole in it. Very important, because once the hole is in it, there's no going back. I kind of eyeball how long the strap is going to be. It's generally right. If it's off by 1/4 of an inch or so, it's not going to be a big deal. One of the important things I found from many years ago, I did an instructional video, and I mentioned something about strap length. So I brought out the Winery Dogs, the wine base, just to illustrate the point, because you can kind of see through and see how that screw is in there in the clear wine-colored body. I'm not sure if you can see that too well on camera, but it should be a little bit more clear when you see how it goes in there. Can you see that? Does that make sense? Great. Okay, so so basically, a strap, when you put it on, it and you play whatever choice it is, down low, up high, however it is. I made the point many years ago that if you have a seat and you're sitting down and practicing, the bass is right here. So all the practicing you do, your hands and arms are at a particular angle. So if your strap is super long and you stand up, suddenly the bass is down here and it's all different. And you're up there struggling, wondering, why can't I do what I did in the dressing room? But if you make your strap length the length that it is when you sit and practice with your bass on your leg here and stand up, it's in the same spot. Of all the fancy schmancy licks and all the nonsense I've tried to show people as far as playing goes, the single most commented thing on any of my videos is the strap length. Even today I got an email from a guy how he said that changed everything for him in his bass playing. So it's a very important point to decide where it's going to be. Classical guitar players have the little foot stand that they put on just to make sure all their angles are the same, and the height of the stool or chair they sit on is very, very important. Matter of fact, they even sell chairs and footrests for classical guitars so they can have that consistent spacing between all the angles of their arms and their instrument. So there is some verification to its importance in that respect. So I wanted to illustrate that point on why. And the good thing about these straps that I'm doing here is they don't stretch. As I mentioned before, that leather used to stretch, and I'd wonder why I was sucking more and more on bass, and I realized the strap's getting longer. So what we want to do here today is we're going to punch 2 holes, put in 2 grommets, and then install it on the bass. So I got to get the middle. It's a 3-inch wide strap. So it's fabric, so it's not going to be exactly 3 inches. So I'll take it 1.5 inches and make a little dot. All this will go away later. You'll see how all these marks will be unimportant later. And also kind of eyeball it so that it's in the middle. And there we go. And then I'll make a little line there so that I can understand that that's my center line, and wherever it falls, it's going to fall on that line. So what I would do here then is I'll punch the hole in the that goes to the bottom of the bass first. Then I'll line this up to it, lay it out, and match the length. Then I'm going to trim it round. The graphic arts are not my high point. This is actually off center a little bit too because I didn't do the line. So I blew it on this one. Maybe I should offer this, make a donation to road crew and tech personnel that are all out of work, and you can have this. Anyway, it's off center. And also, in order to get that the threads sealed so they don't unravel, we use fire. So that's how we're going to do it. So I'm going to do the same thing here to make sure I get it in the center again. I got 1 dot there now, and I'll do another one at 1.5 inches. Eyeball it because it's not exactly in the middle. 1.5 right there. And so now when I do a little line, it should be pretty darn close to the center, so I'll get it correct. So now I'm going to go down onto the cement floor and punch some holes in this and put the grommet in. Okay, so here's the little grommets, 2 little pieces that go together on each side of the fabric. This has got little teeth in it to grip it really well. This piece will go through, and this will be pounded down like a rivet around the edge, and they'll stay on there hopefully forever. This is the device that will do that pounding, and it will require a pretty serious hit. So I'm using a mason, I think this is a mason's hammer, down like that. So, and before you get too worried, I'm going to hold the thing with a vice grip so my hand isn't near enough to that, because that could be catastrophic. Anyway, so that'll be how that goes. And then also there's the punch, same thing. Usually when you buy grommets, a pack of them, they'll come with a punch. And the punch is a sharp edge here. Again, I hold it with the vice grips when I hit it. 1 good shot. And I'm also on the floor, I have a piece of hardwood left over from our flooring. So it's really hard because you need wood, because you want it to go through and stick in the wood and then make a clean cut. on cement you dull this too much, so a little chunk of wood on there. The strap goes on, you punch a hole, then you put the grommet on, and I'll get on the floor and show you how that happens. Okay, here's the critical part. There's no one going back after this. So I've got a center line here. I'm going to eyeball it. I want to get it so there's it's equidistant to the edge here, that's center, to the end. Now it's frayed a little bit, so you got to take that into consideration. So if I eyeball it around there and get it right about to that spot there, that looks kind of in the middle, I'm okay. I've got room on the other end in case I go too far that way to move that one. I had them cut all extra long so that they're not, in case I don't get it exactly right, I've got room to move. And in case I want it a little longer, I can do that. A little shorter is easier. It's harder to make them longer. So anyway, this is it. And again, I got a vice grip on there to keep my hands out of the way. And I'm going to give one good solid smack, I hope. I don't miss. If we do, I'm going to edit it out because so I don't look like that big of a fool. And try to get it through on the first time. I think we got it because I feel the wood. So that's good. So give it a twist. Pull it off. Aha. There you go. Very nicely done. Nice clean cut. Now, it would fray in the middle too, but we got an answer for that too. So now I'll just go right ahead and put this this grommet on. Now you want this part on the outside. So I did it. I'm going to have to put this upside down. Put that there. Lay the inside piece on it. If you see me shaking a little bit, you can blame John Willis for sending me Black Rifle coffee. It's fantastic, but man, whoo, it's working very well. So this piece goes in here now. This piece fits on the top of it. You want that little flange in the middle to be pushed over when you hit it. So get it lined up so you can get down. You feel the edge come up a little bit around there. Bang, there's that. And again, I'm going to go with the vice grip to prevent a catastrophic situation here. Okay, so now there it is. And when I put this on there, it'll push that piece down and move and bend the metal around that. So I'm going to give it a good hit here. Now I got a couple chances to make a few hits on this, so give it one good one. There it is. Now this comes off real easily. And there it is. It's not going anywhere. It's rock solid on there. All right, so now we're going to use a strap that's already been made and use that as a template for length. I line up with my first, with the grommet that's in there, line it up with this one. Follow along. I made a center line so I know where the center is, as opposed to the one I'm already using, which is off center a little bit by my error. I'll mark the center point there. Again, pretty much eyeballed. And it's ready to go also again for another smack on the hardwood. That'll be my center point. I get this piece here. You'll find that wood and little circles of the strap eventually fill this up. You can take a screwdriver and pound it out of there. I'm not going to worry about it at this point, but I am, again, safety first, safety second sometimes, but generally safety first. I'll try to put this in the vice grip so that when we make that hit, my hands are well out of the way. So that looks pretty well centered, pretty close. Again, I'm eyeballing it. If you want to get hyper critical, there's probably a way better way of measuring this and doing it, but this has worked for me so far. So we'll give it a nice hit here. There. Twist it to get it out of the wood. We know we went through, and again, another nice clean, and this is centered. So that's very nice. Now I'm going to take my other grommet. Pretty easy. I don't need the wood here anymore on the cement floor. The little round part here. When you buy the grommets, these things usually come with it because they're sized to the right grommets. Again, these are stainless steel. For years I used brass. They held up fine. There's never a problem with them. I never had one go bad. But I just figured the stainless steel might be a little bit better with all the hot sweat and everything that happens on a gig. So you put the little piece here. I want to make sure turn it over again and make sure that the smooth side is on the outside. There it is. This goes over it like that. The other grommet piece goes on here with its teeth so that this piece will come through and get hammered into compliance. And we go to that there. There's our thing, and make sure that that comes up through so it can catch it, and it's pretty much ready to be pounded. There we go. And there it is. We're okay. So now we've got the strap with the correct grommets in the right spot, and now we do a few other things. And we'll go back up to the workbench to show you how I configure this. All right, so we've got the hole and the grommet all squared away. This is the end piece. It's going to go on the butt of the base, and the other part goes on the horn. So what we want to do is round this off. And again, I'm not a craftsman by any sense of the word. It's black on black on black, so I'll move this to the side a little bit. I've got the top of the paint can. The significance of the paint will come in very soon. And I'm going to use that as my way to just make a little circular thing, kind of eyeball it, that it's going to be round. Snap that cap off and just give myself a little template to copy and go around so I can cut somewhat good looking or proper little circle around there. So that's basically what I'm going to do now is use this little scissors. Pretty simple. Just catch that round thing there, go around it, easy as pie. Now you want to avoid the frayed part, so I make sure to try to cut that off so I got it, it's still pretty much together. The weaving is pretty much together. Pretty close, we're good. Let's round it off, that's fine, that's going to work. Now, to prevent the fraying, I know it's extreme, you wouldn't normally do this on cotton, like on the original old, P-base. I took some liquid rubber and painted it on there. It held pretty well because you can't, of course, you don't want to burn the cotton. That won't melt like the polyvinyl or vinyl or poly, whatever it is that strap is. But this has lasted for, decades. No problemo. So that's no problem there. But on this one, I just want to kind of use this to, just to kind of take down the edges a little bit. So I'll just lightly brush enough to melt them together. Now we have another way of sealing this after, but this is kind of a double way of doing it to be sure. So if any threads that are sticking out, they'll melt down and seal and prevent it from unraveling. You wouldn't want that. Get it right at the edges where it would happen. Don't let it catch on fire. Don't do this around any fumes. We have both garage doors open. We're okay. Just give it a little brushing here to take it down a tiny bit. Get those little edges and frayed bits apart. And we are good. There you go. That's all you need. Then we're going to show you one of the final steps we do, which is painting. Why do we paint it? Basically, we want that stiffness there. I'll use an epoxy paint. I'll show you that in a minute. It's in another location. And it'll keep it stiff. It'll seal it. It'll even seal to some degree underneath the grommet, so nothing's going to come loose ever. It's a really effective way of making sure this ain't going to move, this ain't going to change. It's going to be pretty much a lifetime strap, if you will. This will never deteriorate. You can get this wet forever, and it should last for decades. So we'll go on next to the painting portion of our homemade strap video. Okay, so now we've got the trim done. We've got the thread sealed by melting it. Again, this is the, I'll double check and post, and I'll post a link to exactly this strap material from Strapworks. I think it's strapworks.com. So if you want to get this and do this the same. Now, I have two sewn together. You could do it one, but then it's going to be floppy again. That's the whole reason why we don't want that. So getting them sewn together may be a little bit of a task. If you live in a small town, it might be hard to find an industrial sewing thing that they're going to do that. But I'm sure where there's a will, there's a way. Anyway, I'm going to spray paint it. Normally I would go somewhere else to spray paint it and not do it on my bench and get overspray, but my friend Cody, who's videotaping all this, I didn't want to have set the cameras up in a different location again, so making life a little easier for him. I'm causing enough trouble as it is. So I want to paint this, and the reason why is we're just going to seal all these fibers in with paint. Now, you can use pretty much any kind of paint, but I'm using epoxy because it's really stiff and hard to kind of hold things together. I think it's designed for engines or something that gets hot, but anyway, an epoxy paint, it's got a lot more hold, and that's what we're trying to do, is spray something on here to hold all these fibers together. I imagine you could dip it into something, a lacquer or whatever, but this has worked for me. Use your own ingenuity if you want to come up with a different way of doing it. And plus, any silver marker that's left here will go away too. So basically, I'm just going to saturate the fibers with some paint and let it really soak in. I want to go up the strap a little bit because we're trying to keep this stiff. We want this strap to be stiff here so it doesn't flop around. This is the whole original idea of this. So if it pulls up a little bit, it'll soak in, it'll be okay. It's not a really aesthetic thing that I'm trying to paint something fabulous and make it look unreal. Most all of my handiwork, if you want to call it that, is utilitarian. It's just to get the job done later on. I wish I was better at the aesthetics of it than I am, but I'm just not. And then ultimately, I wouldn't turn it over yet. I would let it dry. But just for efficiency here on this video, I would do the same thing on the other side and soak that in nicely and get it all in there. It dries, this stuff dries pretty quick. I used it on a couple other straps the other day. Then I'll do the same thing with the other side. I'm not going to do that right now so it doesn't dangle around and land on my shoe and stuff. But I'll do the same thing down here. And again, I want to take the paint up to about here to keep that stiff so it won't flop around. And then that's basically it for all the prep you need to do on the strap prior to attaching it to the base, and that'll be next. Okay, now another dangerous part. I got to drill holes in the base. Again, if you have a expensive base, these Attitudes are expensive bases, I know. I do this because I need them live to perform a certain way. I have several Attitudes Yamaha's been kind enough to give me that I keep in their pristine, normal condition without my hacks done on it, which is very important to me. And I'm very grateful that they're kind enough to take care of me with my bases. But for me to use them live, I need to do these things to them just so that it all works. Now, these have already been drilled because I already had a strap on them. That strap got moved to another base, so I need one for this. So I do the standard, hold on there, the standard way you would check to see if a screw eyeball is going to fit. You make sure that the threads are larger and wider than the drill, of course. Proper woodworking craftsman will give you more information on this. And again, another caveat, like I said in the video about installing the pickups, if you don't know what you're doing, get somebody to do it for you. If you're not at least versed in using tools and drills and things like that, it's worth it because you don't want to screw up your base or damage an instrument. It's very, very important. I have confidence. I've done this hundreds of times, so I feel okay with it. But still, there are many times I wish I had somebody who was better at it than I to do it. So I'm just going to double check and make sure this hole is nice and, yeah, we're good. It's the right size. So this will probably go in there just right. So now, while that other strap is drying, I'm going to use the initial strap here. We're going to put this spacer here. The spacer is about as thick as the strap, maybe a little bit more. Enough so you can, if you really torque it down, you probably can get it to catch and hold the strap a little tighter. So basically, it's as simple as putting it in there and screwing it in. So if I get myself a little Phillips head screwdriver here, I can start it. I could do it by with a drill, but I like to do it by hand often because it starts to get tight, too tight. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on that wood inside. You could maybe split it or crack it. So get it so it's comfortable and goes in pretty easily. If there's a problem later on and it's loose, It's pretty easy to put a little spacer or a piece of hardwood veneer in there to make sure that it holds better. A couple of times when I drop my bass on the stage and it hits, it jars those threads and it can become a little loose. So I'll unscrew it, put something in there, screw it back in. A little Elmer's glue will help hold it too. Basically, bang right down in, and now we've got it. So now this moves. If I torque it down a little bit, it gets tighter each time. You could put a felt washer under here too if you wanted a little bit tighter, so it wouldn't move like this. And then the other way around, basically we flip the bass around, and we've got to do the same thing here. And that's where the smaller, thank you Makita, drill comes in handy, because there's usually an angle here with the neck, and it makes it difficult to get in there. So fortunately, we just made it, and we got it here, we're okay. So the same thing here now. I'm going to take this strap, put it in its spot, grab the spacer. I know I brought it over here. Yeah, typical workshop. Hold on, let me go get a spacer. Hold that thought. I'm back. Okay, so here we go. We're going to put it on there in the same fashion. Through the washer, bang, bang, in it goes. Make sure it's the right way. Right on here, in there. I'm gonna hand tighten it so I can feel it go in. Do a couple finger turns, make sure we're going the right way, and then tighten it up like this. So basically, and we'll show you how it is when it's all together. Again, you might want to use a shorter screwdriver because this neck gets in the way here. I think ideally, if you really wanted to go crazy, you could take the body off the neck, but that's a little extreme. Find the right tools that will fit a little easier, it might be better. Make sure that lands where it's supposed to land. Come on, baby. Here we go. Bang. Okay. A couple of things you might notice right away. This might be a little long, so it might get in your way. Doesn't bother me, so you can trim this back a little bit more. It'll be safe. You could take even like almost 3/8 of an inch off that if you wanted to get that out of your way. But as is right now, the bass is in the right spot. If I grab my little chair here and pop this up as I sit, there it is, in the right spot. Stand up, it's in the same spot. Feels great. And then when I take it off, it's not twisting and winding around here. Even with the, you have to use 2 wireless packs because it's a double output. Even with both of them on there, really heavy, bang, right back on again, no problemo. So that is the principle behind this strap. Now there's a couple of other developments I've done or fell into. I wanted to try something cotton, a more natural fiber. So this is fire hose. I forget the initial diameter, but it was been pressed flat, and you can see the lines that you can't see in the other strap where they sewed it flat. It has a little ridge on each end. Now, the base that I have one of these on isn't currently here. Sorry, I can't explain that, but this feels really nice, and it's cotton. And because it's a fire hose, it actually has a rubber interior. So what I would do with this is exactly the same as that, but because it's cotton, I'd want to seal it a little different. I might seal it first before I cut and put the rivets in, but it's a very comfortable way of doing it. And I thought maybe be nice to make a bunch of these and donate to first responders, because what will we do without them? But the fire hose idea is going to be my next thing, other than the vinyl strapping. If I can find the link to the fire hose company that sent me the roll for this, I'll post that. I can certainly find the Strapworks link, I'll post that. But again, that's kind of the whole idea of the straps. They started out long ago. Here's an ancient one, beaten, sweated on, deteriorated, awful. And this is some of my artwork on the strap. You can see why I stick to playing bass. The graphic arts are not my forte at all. But this has been on, I forgot which base, but it was on for many years and got soaking wet and sweat. It still has the little grommets on there, and these are the brass grommets. They held up fine. They're fine. They're a little corrosion, but they're still good for another 2 decades. So that's how it started. Then we went to the Strapworks version with the Velcro sewn on there, 5 lines that you can't see too well. And then on the fire hose version, we can see it a little bit illustrated how they sewed it flat. You got these little edges on the end here. It's actually quite comfortable. And the Velcro on there too. I'll be putting the grommets in there, rounding them off and doing pretty much the same procedure on this. And that just gives me a strap that when I go on stage, it's predictable. A great thing about playing so many shows is you begin to understand what's important to you as a player. And to go up there every night and have your mic at the right height and your strap on at the right place and everything the way it should be. Now, night to night, gig to gig, club to club, arena to arena, something's changed. But when you have that consistency, that's one less thing for you to worry about, where you can concentrate on your playing and your singing, the song, and actually communicate with the audience instead of thinking about things, which I think is very important. So, as odd as it may seem, the strap, its components, its size, and all that are a part of that equation. So I hope you found some of this useful. Again, a lot of guys aren't going to need this. A regular old strap is going to be fine for your entire life, and it's totally cool. God bless you. We're all in the same club. It's okay. But if you find your needs go a little bit further, some of the things I talked about here today might be helpful to you. Maybe you want to go whole hog and do something like this yourself. If I can answer any questions for you as far as that you might have doing this, you can find me through the usual channels. And thanks for watching, and more videos to come.